and learn. So anytime if you have questions, please note and please get contact with us and we will answer the questions for you. So let's start from here. Freud's psychoanalytic approach. Today we'll be reading what is the Freud's psychoanalytic approach. So it is starting. The Freud psychoanalytic approach is the understanding of psychoanalytic theory, which was designed or which was proposed by Sigmund Freud in 1856 to 1939. He became a pioneer in psychoanalysis using the free association method. And what is that free association method? That is the perspective on human beings, that how in the life of Freud, right? Freud or Freud. So the Freud was born in Freiburg, Austria in 1856 between a 40-year-old commercial father and which was 40 years old mother, right? So in 1990, Freud's first book, The Interpretation of Dreams, was published, right? And it was published and he called it interpretation of the dreams. So the interpretation of the dream was his first book, which was published in 1990s. So it was a very long time after he passed away. And the Royal Road to the unconscious it was in 1990s, and at the age of 46, Freud's fame grows and his research began to attract many supporters. So his research attracted many determinism as it had people thinking that what research fish. After marriage, he opened a private clinic and the psychiatrist as a psychiatrist and financial problems. So he started a clinic and he was working as a psychiatrist to his due to financial problems. And Freud learned about the hypnosis from Carpet, and who was working in Syria and Paris when this is where the Freud's great work began at that time, his career. Freud's first work on hysteria was NO, right? And together with Joseph Breuer from his lifetime was from 1842 to 1925, and he was treating in 1895 in the study of hysteria. So hysteria, we understand what is hysteria. Some people, when they're suffering from a kind of situation and they're exposing their ability or their disagreement from their own symptoms. Actually, that can be understood as a normal condition, but literally it is by the new researches, the hysteria is also a psychiatrist and also a psychological problem, which needs attention if a person is on hysteria, right? And the study on hysteria was published, however, through this experience, and the Freud became skeptical of effectiveness of hypnosis, and he began psychoanalysis he was analyzing the psychology of the people, and a new non-hypnotic method, and he officially banned the use of hypnosis in 1895. Fritz Sigmund, this was his time period, and he became a pioneer in psychoanalysis using the association, as we said before. And the perspective of human analysis and what Freud was doing, right? So this was also mentioned before. It is again mentioned here. And also the perspective on human nature, like the determinism, as we spoke before. Like he paid much more attention to psychoanalysis, and based on his researches, he banned hypnosis, or the use of hypnosis. Now, we will be reading what is the psychoanalytic situation, or what is that theory. The psychoanalytic theory, and separated from Freud, it is the view that the visible events are inevitably linked to the past event, and suffered from the people who suffer from the cancer of the jaw. And also in the 1993 and 1933, the Nazi persecution banned his book in Berlin. So his book and researchers were banned in Berlin due to the Nazi persecutions. And further, they were a revised psychoanalytic theory throughout his lifetime. And late in 16 years of his life, he suffered from the cancer jaw, and this is again mentioned. So, and after the marriage, he opened up a private clinic. It is repeated, and they decided to repeat for that. Now we'll be reading about the main contents of the psychoanalytic theory, or the perspective, as we spoke before. And the dynamic personality. What is the dynamic personality? That he was doing researches on these, and his instinct. The instincts are divided into life instincts and also death instincts. Based on his analysis, he was working the dynamics of personality. That what is actually a personality, and how is it defined in the life instinct eros. So the eros of the contact for the purpose of the survival of the individual and the reproduction of the species, such as the sex, hunger, and thirst. And it is instinctively, or instinct energy, that shares love with others and promotes personal creative development. Personality. Now understanding personality in the context of sharing with others. Personality is a situation or instinct energy when a person is sharing his love or his relations with others, to the community, to their family members, right? In the beginning, the sexual energy was called libido. This is a Latin word, actually. Latin word for what? For desire. So libido is a Latin word for desire. But later all life, its meaning was expanded by calling the energy to instinct libido, to the instinct of libido. So before it was understood that only desire, but later on it became a wide meaning, or the meaning was expanded by the researchers and also professors of the study. It is more reasonable to regard the mental energy associated with instinct of life as libido. So it's also called sharing of associated with libido, right? And also, Freud included all activities of the pursuit of pleasure and the concept of what? And the concept of instinct life. So, what is death or instinct? Thanatos. Thanatos is called death, and it's it is Latin word for death. And all organisms have the urge to return to inanimate states. Yeah, so he has a wish for death, or something which has a wish for death, or something which is going to die finally. And the desire for aggression is also derived from the instinct of death. And so in an attack is when a desire for self-destruction contains contained in the instinct of death. And the instinct of death is also redirected to another external object. And also the energy that can express the unconscious desire to attack or harm others. Geomorphology of mind. How is the geomorphology of mind working, and how is the mind designed, right? So first of all, we are reading about unconscious, or a person who is an unconsciousness, right? Unconscious is a part of the innate plus, goes up from the unconscious to the preconscious and also conscious situations, and it refers to the part that has been pushed back into unconscious. In all experiences and memories, unfulfilled instinctual wishes and repressed materials are restored or stored. And also it is an area that is inaccessible to ordinary people. And it is an area that is inaccessible to normal people. Exactly. It is a total memory of one's life history. So being a conscious, situation of conscious, or the state of being conscious, it is the total memory of what? The whole one's life memory. And unknown impulses and motives determine most conscious actions, emotions, and also thoughts. Now we're reading what is conscious. It is anything that an individual is conscious at that moment and the time that it can be perceived as a sense of precipitation and experiences and memories, etc. And it occupies a small part of the new life in the whole mind, and also in the whole mind. Conscious things become latent in the unconscious and the preconscious over time. The goal of psychoanalytic or psychoanalysis therapy is the process of making unconscious emotions and thoughts and motive conscious. Conscious is a state of being aware of your environment and also your body, and you can understand that, right? And what is preconscious situation? It is a recognized, so now it is recognized, but it is a place where that you were conscious, but before it was restored. Preconscious is a situation that the person is conscious, or preconsciousness situation is called before the situation which is before consciousness, that is called preconscious, right? A person is preconscious, or that is or the situation is called preconsciousness. The possible area, example, like recalling the name of an old friend, trying to recall the memory of an unknown person. Say a person said something, or you are recalling that, right? The problem solving or decision making or creative activities are also function of the preconscious mind. Even if you are resting and playing, unconscious ideas come to mind, so you can do creative activities and solve the problems. Preconsciousness is the ability to symbolize through the language, and activation of the language ability weakens the instinct desire with the abstract thinking ability. In the structure of personality, so whenever we are speaking about personality, so how is the personality structured? In 1923, the ego and also the AD, the structure of human mind is divided into three parts, which are the three parts. Personality consists of the ID, ego, and superego. ID, ego, and superego. What is ego? So the ego plays the intermediate role between the desire and the conscious, and the ego moves toward the ID and the consideration of reality, resolving personal conflicts by moving toward the ego. The healthy A healthy ego is characterized by the harmony of balance and three personality structures such as the ID, ego, and superego. So it will be the ID, first one, ID, and also the biological components. What are the biological components? Human personality is differentiated from the ID to later ego and superego. So the composition of the ID mainly composed instinct and also impulsivity, consciousness, and unconsciousness. Now we are speaking about the situation when a person is there. The first source of the psychological energy, where the instinct is unorganized or blind, or the structure of personality. The second is the structure of personality. And the content and the process of the ID are not fully conscious. The thought pattern of the ID and the primary process, which the thought pattern without objectivity and rationality. The act according to the pleasure or principle. The impatient and immediate demand to satisfy the instinctual needs. And also the first source of psychology or psychological energy, where the instinct is unorganized and also blind and in an old, persistent, and powerful situation. So, summarizing the situation, when a person is in unconscious situation, right? In the conscious situation, a person understands what is going on. In the unconscious situation or in unconsciousness, the person is not aware of what is going on around his environment. Immoral, never mature, or mostly unconscious, and it is the source of life satisfaction, and the fountain of mental energy, the consciousness. And when the ID is overpressed, right? Overpressed, it becomes a person who lacks joy and it is helpless. It is because there is an ID and that cannot be attacked, that cannot attack or assert itself when necessary. Speaking about ego, which is psychological component. This is the role of ego. It plays a role and properly adjusting and the instinct of the ID and the external or real world. And the ego gives realistic and logical thinking according to the reality of principle that helps to adopt the environment, while the ID blindly seeks to satisfy need, and the ego undergoes the reality of verification process and is subjective. Distinguish between the desire and the external reality. Intellectual activities or rationally to check and control the blind impulses of the ID while making the plans for the actions and its place, and the place is located. A healthy ego. So what is the healthy ego? The healthy ego mediates instinctive need, and the superego seeks rationally through reality and the environment. Create a way to meet and achieve the peace of mind. The ego perceives and responds to the surroundings through the sensation and thoughts, emotions, and actions, which levels of conscious are, and maintain the relationship with reality. Ego functions are formed by themselves or for their own satisfaction without conflict. And the ego is related to social development that allows the individual to adopt psychologically and socially, and the ego develops subjectivity. Speaking about the superego, as we spoke before, what is the superego? Superego, a social component. It refers to to the internalized representation on social values, morals, ethics, and the conscious inherited from the parents and also those who are around them. And it is the function of that pursuit of perfection while assessing whether one's actions are right or wrong without assessing the situation, right? And also a place responsible for moral regulation of human behavior, seeking the perfection rather than pleasure, morality, and rather than the reality of looking for something which is imaginary. It is because of the superego that humans commit sin and feel guilt. Superego. The superego is formed by the parenting style experiences. Parents are irrational, excessively strict and vicious, right? Or vicious. The infant's superego is vicious and also sadistic, which means self-righteousness in everything, and guilt, depression, and purification. So, Frick's theory of psychological development, and Frick's theory, which was saying that was classified as the psychosexual. It was also classified as psychosexual development stages according to the changes in the body, where the libido or sexual energy is intensively expressed and satisfaction is obtained when the libido needs are properly met with each other. And the children can achieve normal personality development, but the libido is severely suppressed or frustrated, and on the tops to be attached to the desires of children who are fixed, and particularly in some stages, and regardless of the age. So it does not mean it is particularly in what age. It is regardless of age. As we continue to claim to unmet needs and system of regression in personality development occurs, right? So oral stage. What is the oral stage in this point? The oral stage corresponds to the age approximately between the birth and 1 year, and 1 year to 6 months. The infants in the early years of the oral activity or the oral cavity are primarily sucking. The pleasure is obtained through the stomach, and the late libido period and the libido needs are satisfied by chewing or biting only. When oral satisfaction is frustrated by too regular daily feeding, too quick weaning of child starts. When the situation where a child is transferring from drinking or being fed by mother's milk through to another. So soft meals like potato or some rice can be fed to a child, and while he or she is 2 years old, and sometimes earlier than that, that is called weaning situation. It has been the character of oral fixation. These early fixation experiences have a lasting impact on the personality development. Adherence to oral cavity is caused by excessive preoccupation with food, and also the excessive smoking or drinking. It is why, because it is easy to show the degenerative characteristics such as excessive demands for the contact with others, independence on others' side. So like go on and let go. goes on, they go. It is also expressed as criticism or anger toward others as well. The anal stage. Now we will be reading what is the anal stage, right? The anal stage, which responds to the age 1 year or 6 months or 3 years, it is the period in which libido satisfaction is sought. And through the pleasure of gratification, libido pleasures are sought, and the gratification. And since this is the time of potty training, there is a high possibility that anal pleasure will be defined with the stuff in anus. Then it appears as an anal explosive personality or becomes the anal compulsory or compulsive personality, anal explosive personality, and dealing with the anal repression, though the unorganized or messy behavior or a kind of rebellious behavior. Anal explosive personality is a personality when the person or child is stubborn, being stubborn, fragile, and also esteemed. Phallic stage. Now we want to understand what is phallic stage. The children between the 3 years and 6 years old is in the phallic stage, according to Freud. According to the age of 3 or 4, the children experience pleasure from genitals. Since I'm physically mature enough to feel it, Freud argued that the libido of a child at his time is the incest toward the parent of the opposite sex closest to them, and it has been subject of too much controversy by claiming that it appears an insidious or which is called the action of incest desire, and a boy loves for his mother, right? A boy's love for his mother. It is called Oedipus complex, and the case of girl, it is called Electra complex. The Oedipal complex is a chronic voice plays an important role in shaping the personality of children at this age. What this Freud is saying, according to a study, children who have strong need for affection for their mother see their mother as a competitor. Loves, however, my father is a very big and strong being compared to the children, so my competitive spirit toward my father turns into fear. This is also in his personality, and he will be bold. So Freud refers to this situation as castration anxiety. Freud argued that children between their father to reduce the castration anxiety and gain motherly affection. It argues that psychological mechanism of identification appears by identification in the child's father thoughts and by imitating the attitude and behavior of making their own, and they become like their father. They become like their father, and also at the time their ideal of their super ego was formed by making the father in the ideal that the ego could reach through the poetry. From this point of view, the Oedipus complex has this decisive importance in the formation of personality in infancy. And Freud's explanation of the girl process of resolving the Electra complex has been criticized. And Freud said that when a girl opens her eyes to her to her body around the age of 4, she realizes that she does not have the penis, that she does not have a penis. It saying that I thought it would be ruined and named it penis envy, the verb penis envy. This is the situation which is called penis envy. He argued that it would change from an attachment relationship with his mother, which lasted until then, and a strong attachment for the mother situation. Yeah, for the father, attachment to the father. And since girls do not have castration anxiety, there is no reason to fear their mothers and their fathers. And therefore, it is difficult to show temporary mechanism that Freud explained how girl overcomes her Electra complex. I admit to myself that it is difficult. However, Freud found that girls do not have castration anxiety and have no identification of mechanism. It is that seems to form a weak superego compared to the boys, because it is weak, and Freud's explanation of the character development and also the process of girls, including the envy of queerness, has been characterized by scholars on the ground, and it is the sexual bias. And the thinking that I thought it would be ruined, as we said before. Latency stage. Now we are going to latency stage. The period between 6 years to 12 years is a period in which a child desires conflict is relatively quietly suppressed. During this period, all children libido develop, and through socially acceptable and recognized activities such as schoolwork and sports. It is radiated like a powerful energy. However, with the sexual change of puberty and the latent period ends. This entire stage is called latency stage, and it starts from age 6 to age 12 years. Genital organs. What are the genital organs? Around the age of 12, and the genital stage begins with the secretion of 6 hormones when entering the penis, right? And adolescents seek libido satisfaction through sexual activities. And this mode of libido expression continues throughout the life. Thus, Freud's theory of personality development ends at the genital stage. Erickson's psychoanalytic approach. So Erickson was another person who had proposed other type of theories. Erickson was living, and he was born in 1902 to 1994. So it's quite a long time, like almost a century. So he was living, and he was a German. Yeah, he was born in Germany, right? Erickson was born in Frankfurt and in Germany in 1992. And to a Danish father and a Jewish mother. A Danish father and a Jewish mother. His parents separated before his birth, and he was raised with his mother until the age of 3. And his mother was a pediatrician, and he married Dr. Hamburger, right? It's quite close to Hamburger. And he deceased and married with his father. Erickson did not know until years later. He found out that Dr. Hamburger was not his biological father. As a child, Erickson's mother and stepfather were Jewish, although he was a human being, and he was often teased by his Jewish friends as a pagan because he had Nordic blonde hair, and the blue eyes that he had. It is believed that this experience became the basis for his later research on identity crisis and confusion. Erickson excelled in ancient history and also the R in the high school, but he hated to steer to stereotypical school atmosphere, obsessed with a sense of loss of uncertainty about the future after graduation. Erickson wandered around Europe to study art instead of going to college. At the age of 25, Erickson was offered to teach children at school in Vienna, and he founded by Anna Fried. He was founded by Anna Fried, where she received in training in the child psychoanalysis under Anna Fried's guidance. And this is Eric and Sam. It was the first meeting of rhetoric, and Erickson left Europe in 1933 under Hitler's persecution and went to Boston, USA, where he was the first person in the city. He started his career as a child psychoanalyst after spending 3 years at the Eastern Boston from 1936 to 1939. From 1936 to 1939, he entered in the Western Yale University, worked at the Human Relations Institute, and taught at the Graduate School of Medicine until when in 1939. And he moved to San Francisco, and he conducted important longitudinal study on child psychoanalytic therapy and normal children. At the University of California, he also traveled to Pacific Coast to study Indian tribes. Erickson said, Fried tried to find out the lives of normal. Fried tried to find the lives of normal children growing up in various cultures that Fried had uncovered. After being expelled from the University of California in 1949 for refusing to sign an oath of alliance that threatened personal and academic freedom. He worked as a senior advisor at the Austin Rick Center in Massachusetts until 1960s. And although he did not have an official degree, he was appointed a professor at Harvard University. He worked until his retirement. Erickson's most important book in children and society in 1950s. In this book, his famous 8 stages of life are laid out, and through all stages and the life, and he showed how these 8 stages progress in the life in the way of cultures, in different cultures, like young Martin Luther. Number 8, Gandhi's truth in 1969 revealed that the psychoanalytic process in his historical work, identity Youth and Crisis. In 1968 is one of the representatives book showing identity crisis and overcoming process of youth. Erickson's theory of psychosocial development. So what was his psychosocial development theory? Now, so Erickson was different from Freud, and who regarded the expression of libido itself as a major indicator for personality development, and how Erickson described Freud in that expression of the libido changes according to the age of the child, and also in the process of running it yourself, you will run into failure and overcoming the bipolar crisis of success or failure. Maybe success, maybe failure. This crisis overcome the process and also considered to be the main factor of personality development. And for example, a child in oral cavity, it has difficult irreversible properties. Another slide. When a child fails to overcome a crisis because of zero, and the child loses control and will fail into the pattern of overcoming the crisis between autonomy versus shame is lifelong suffering. In the children have a sucking substyle, and the children in the child's environment sometimes satisfy their needs. And also sometimes it's frustrating. Sometimes the children environment is frustrating, sometimes it is satisfying, and also in the way the positive experiences, and also satisfy the need of negative experiences that are frustrated. And also in the process of the intersection, the ego style experiences of the kind of crisis. And if the percentage of the positive experiences is negative, or if the percentage of the positive experiences is higher than the percentage of the positive experiences, the crisis will be overcome positively, and the child will develop positive personalities. And if the opposite case, it will produce a negative case, and the child will be raised in a negative personality. The act of desperately climbing the jungle gym, an expression of initiative, playing the balls with peers, and self-assertion, and the initiative appears that while the participating in the moment or immersed in the combination in this process, described in the terms of eight stages of psychosocial development. And stage number 1, reliability versus distrust, which is birth around 1 year to 6 months, or from 6 months to 1 year. During this period, the children who receive adequate care for their parents who have basic needs, whose basic needs are met. However, children who have experienced negative thoughts or negative experiences, it becomes, according to Erickson's, basic credibility or distrust in developing in the time period of persistent life or throughout life. It directly affects the next stage of personality of development, and also forms and distrust and cannot be changed. It has difficult irreversible properties. And the stage number 2 and 3, the autonomy versus shame, which is starting from from year number 1 to year number from the first year to 6 months, and from 6 months to 1 year, and also to 3 years. Self-control, such as such as urinating, becomes possible for the first time due to physical and psychological maturation. And however, many children self-regulatory behaviors are regulated by parents who are concerned about their maturity. In the process of running it yourself, you will run into failure. Overcoming the bipolar crisis of success and failure by doing so. And children gain basic confidence and self-control and form autonomy. Excessive external value when a child fails to overcome the crisis because of zero, and the child loses the control and will fail into the pattern of overcoming the crisis between autonomy versus shame. And that's a lifelong self, and it is the basis of control. Stage number 3, initiative versus guilt, which starts from the 3rd year to 7th year. During this period, the children plan their activities and set their goals and try to achieve them. Playground. Stage number 2, autonomy versus shame, which is also the fear and self-control. And in the opposite case, it will produce a negative character by according to, as it said before. And also, this is the act which is this will be climbing the jungles, as we said and discussed before. Many expressions of frustration, and during this time period, the first budding self-directed activity succeeded at the inappropriate rate. And in doing so, the child establishes initiative to be many experiences of failure. If there are many experiences of failure, and the child initiative is diminished and feel guilty about their assumptions. Stage number 4, industriousness and also inferiority, which start from verse number from year number from year number 7 to the age of 12 years. And the sense of industry versus inferiority as a crucial stage in the childhood of growth. So cognitive and social skills are required to overcome the crisis of children and acquire the diligence in the process of paying attention to the various tasks imposed by school and working diligently. And with this diligence, you have the task of integrity that shows the importance for your entire life. And these children are at this stage. If you do not achieve the adequate achievement, your work at school or at home, you will fall into the sense of inferiority. So this is called stages of industriousness versus inferiority. And in this respect, Erickson encourages children and encourages teachers and parents to discover their talents and encourage them. Stage number 5, as we discussed before, and self-identity versus role confusion, which is an adolescent age. Identity crisis begin who I am. It is the adolescence establishes self, and this establishes identity. It is time to write self-establishment is the question who I am. this is the question with a child or with a person, and refers to getting the answers to questions such as, why is my innate ability? What is my innate ability? You are the world in and looking the relations between the two, and sometimes the world is successful and get in theater performance. The world is successful in a theater performance, and that is already has been accomplished or completed. And the one sees that only a very small role to play in it, and vice versa. Neither the actor nor the director, in the world is a play that has no side. The world is a play that has no side, and he sees himself as a director who will lead the play successfully. In order to overcome the identity crisis, establishment of the community of homogeneity and integration, forming the various aspects, and the self that one can be damaged differently from different perspectives and the perspective to coherent subsystem. In this respect, Erickson encourages the children and encourages the teachers and encourages the parents to discover the children's courage and encouragement. As we said before, before it was mentioned, and integrate commonalities and the differences between self and other views and self, and the rules out there, in the rules that they see other, and also that they dream importance and various views of the self areas such as occupation, what they will be doing, in gender, religion, and any politics, and also in any politics that they are interested in, and forms the sense of identity, and the self-identity is formed in this relationship between selves in various domains is performed. The distinctiveness, that's a different title. It is the time when it is necessary to agree with others in order to get support or sympathy from others. And identity is established when the character is explored. So if it is explored, then identity is established. State number 6, intimacy versus isolation, early childhood. During this period, the individuals from close friends with others through friendship and sexual union. In the early adulthood, the individual should be able to fuse their sense of identity and with home with someone who's without fear and loss and of self and love of self. A person who cannot from the intimacy fall into the state of isolation. So we have 3 more slides. It is this. In the stage, which is in this stage, the productivity versus stagnation, the stagnation of the nation in midlife around 35 to 50 years of old. It corresponds to the full maturity of human being, and it is necessary to actively and directly participate in the teachings and guiding the next generation human beings, and influences the lead of generation. And in an organization to which they belong, it can satisfy the desire to sleep. And if such behavior does not appear in the middle age, the individual, that the person falls into the state of depression, boredom, and weakening, so the interpersonal relations are destroyed or deteriorated. And the state number 8, self-integration versus hopelessness. Self-integration is also really important than hopelessness. In the twilight of life, you find yourself at the state of integration of desire or despair. So your whole life, it is determined the way you look, and during this period, the individual's main effort is the fulfillment or near completion, and it is about to lose. This period is time of reflection and final evaluation of one's life. It is the time of individual to look back on their life in a sense of fulfillment and satisfaction, and he or she reflects on his or her successes and failures in life. If a person is adopted well, the person will become self-integrated, and self-integration accepts the individual and present situation in the past. On the other hand, if you do not, then you will get frustrated and you will suffer a lot. So I hope you have understood the point. So there are several different categories of the situation, how the psychology is working from childhood, from consciousness to unconsciousness, or from unconscious situation to conscious situation. So we had pre-conscious situation, unconscious situation, then pre-conscious situation, and the third was conscious situation. And also when a child is growing up from one place, from childbirth to year number 50, we have analyzed those situations. That's how a person is reacting in this specific moment. These are the key points, and today's lecture is done. Thank you so much. If you have any question in confusion, you can please write it for us. Thank you.
No.